So, okay, this is part two, and I'm recording here to explain to you a step by step how we focus on important parts of the exam question that enable us to get the highest mark possible. Definitely, this is not a typical solution where we explain to you the perfect solution that is for this exam question. This is only intended for people with low programming knowledge or doesn't like programming or doesn't like Python, and they are caught tight in the deadline of the exam, and then they would like to know a procedures that allows them to get um, high marks in a shortest period of time. So in the previous part, I explained about the menu here, okay? And I shared actually a code that represent this menu, but I did not explain anything about why we need to write an exit here, for example. So here I marked my menu 1, 2, 3, and then I put 0 for the exit. So people who learn about programming typically they will know that most of the time, if we have a loop and we would like to break through outside the loop, we either enter -1 or we even enter 0. And this is even common in the exam that they use either 0 or -1 to exit a loop. Okay, so okay. The point here that this was not mentioned in the exam question specifically, but I see that every menu must have a way to exit it. So, and since we are putting the while loop in a way that it will continue forever, so it doesn't make any logic sense that we don't put an option for exiting the loop. Okay, so this is not specifically mentioned in the exam. So if you are in a hurry and if you get confused from this, so you can totally ignore this portion and don't write it at all. But it makes sense on the logic wise. Okay, so since we are focusing here only on getting as many marks as possible and not really producing a perfect solution, so then we can ignore this part. We don't want to waste more time here. So let me move to the next. So is it possible that you use different numbering here? Yes, you are able to use different numbering, but that will reflect in the choices that you allow here in the input. So you need to validate the menu input. So if you have 3 choices from 1 to 3, then your input must be any number between 1 to 3. So it's either 1 or 2 or 3. Below than 1 or bigger than 3, you don't allow. So that is, here comes your validation algorithm, which is a typical template that we always modify because it always comes. So allow me, please, I will just stop here and then push this forward up a bit because it's not very clear. So people who have seen my previous videos, they would know, or previous solution for this 15-mark question, they would know that we have used this template before. This is a popular template that we already explained many times before. So we just modify the template, telling the minimum value and the maximum value that we need to verify, validate the input for. Here, 0 and 3, because this is, I'm considering the 0 number here, or you can modify it to be if it is less than 1 and bigger than 3. And also you can modify here to put it 1 if you would like. I mean, in this case, we don't have to do that. If you understand the 4 options in the menu, then you don't need to do anything. Just accept the code as it is at the moment. So anything below 0 or bigger than 3, we don't accept it. We have to show an error message and continue accepting input until the user input something between 0, 1, or 2, or 3. Other than that, we should move forward. Okay, so since we already accepted from the user a value, that is in between 0 and 3. So we would like to make an if statement that catch out each choice. So if the user choose 1, so this is typical with every menu. So you can consider it as part of the template for any menu requirements that come in these questions. And so we have to do a while loop, do a print statement to show the numbers that the user can write, choose to take an input from the user, validate it, and then come to this if statement. This if statement say that if the user choose 1, then we will call we will execute the code for add context. Pass here is just for when you are still developing the code and you are just testing it. In this case, it doesn't mean anything to you. We have to replace this pass with the real code. I'm just getting it short to explain it here. So pass we should remove after we develop our whole code. So if we choose 1, we will go through the code that will add a context. We will go through a simple code first, and then that does not satisfy all the requirements, but it is very fast, compact, and it will satisfy many of the requirements from the exam. And then we will keep improving it until we reach the final exam requirement, or the yeah. So if we choose 2, it means that we need to display all the contexts. If we choose 3, then from the menu choice, then you delete all the contexts. And if you choose 0, it means that you choose to exit. That will break the loop. That will break the while true loop. Okay, what if actually you did choose something different? And definitely, we even sometimes don't need this part, but since this is a template, we're talking about it. So if there is another choice, maybe 4, for example, if you entered 4 for inside the choice, so if he checked for 1, 2, and 3 and 0, he did not find 4 here. So he will come here to tell you that this is an invalid choice. Please try something different. So now let us look at if you choose 1. If you choose 1, it means that you need to add a contact, which is, and we are talking about this portion in the exam question. So the exam question say, enter a new contact details. Okay, so a new contact, we know that it means that we need to add data to the 2D array, which is the contacts 2D array. And what we need to add the name at the first column and phone at the second column. Okay, so I mean, if we need to accept 2 information, so definitely this is 2 variables that we need to create and accept 2 inputs from the user. And just be aware that you need to highlight here in the message, he specifies that you need to take the last name first and then the first name. Okay, and this is popular in certain European countries. Okay, but here we got 2 data, and we need to append them to the contacts array. Okay, and then we increase the size by 1, because this is an indication. The current size is a variable that keep track how many information have been inserted into the contacts 2D array. Okay, so this is the basic code that we are able to write here. This does not satisfy 2 or 3 requirements that talk about adding data here. Okay, there is more other requirement, but this is just a basic. If you really have a basic knowledge in Python, then I would say stick to this answer. Do not look further. So I will stop this recording, and then on the next recording, I will explain more about the remaining requirements.